Ni No Kuni is a beloved JRPG developed by Level 5 in collaboration with Studio Ghibli, blending stunning animation with deep storytelling. Here are some fascinating backstories and development details behind the game. Studio Ghibli was involved in the game's art style and cutscenes that were crafted in the way Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro were created. Joe Hisaishi, Ghibli's longtime composer, created the entire enchanting soundtrack. Initially, Ghibli was a bit hesitant about working on the game, but director Yoshiyuki Momose, a Ghibli animator, helped bridge the gap between film and game storytelling. Another interesting fact is there are two versions. You have the original Nintendo DS version called Ni No Kuni Dominion of the Dark Djinn, made in 2010 for Japan only. The PS3 version, Wrath of the White Witch, in 2013 expanded the story, improved graphics, and added new mechanics like familiars. The 2013 version included NA and the EU as well. The Magic Book had a real-world connection where there was the Wizard's Companion. In the DS version, it came with a physical spell book that was a hardcover tome in Japan. Players had to flip through its pages to solve in-game puzzles, making it feel like a true wizard's guide. The book contained was spell incantations, lore and monster descriptions, and also beautiful hand-drawn maps of the game world. Another interesting fact about it is that there were clever, real-world puzzle mechanics. Some puzzles actually required interacting with the real world or the DS hardware itself. Close the book puzzle, for example, was one puzzle where closing the DS system to transfer a spell from the real world into the game. The game would detect the lid closing and interpret it as a magical action. Rubbing the screen to charge spells, where some spells required players to actually rub the touchscreen to build up energy, mimicking a wizard's ritual. Lastly, you also had mirror puzzles using the DS camera, a scrapped concept that unfortunately never made it to the game, but it involved the DS camera reflecting some light in game, but this was cut for technical reasons and that it would be too difficult to parse through and possibly cause issues within the game. One of the interesting parts of the PS3's digital book and changes is that it didn't include a physical book. It was now just an in-game menu. Some of the touchscreen based puzzles were removed entirely or partially reworked, and then the PS3 version came with added voice acting for the book's narration, making it feel more like a storybook. Some puzzles required players to close the DS system to transfer magic between worlds. Clever gameplay twist, by the way. Oliver's story and emotional core. The protagonist, Oliver, loses his mother at the start, mirroring classic Ghibli themes of loss and growth. Parallel world, Ni No Kuni, represents Oliver's emotional journey, his grief, and hope manifest in the game's world. Familiars and Pokemon inspiration. The familiar system of capturing and evolving little creatures was inspired by Pokemon, but with a Ghibli-esque twist. Some of the familiars were based on Ghibli creatures, like Mighty, for example, comes from the cat bus in Totoro's movie. Localization changes. The Western release added full voice acting, which wasn't present in the Japanese version when released on the PS3. Localizers had to adapt the game's Welsh-inspired fairy tale dialect, specifically Mr. Drippy's speech, without losing its charm, which created a very interesting dynamic for the development team. Some of the cut content and unused ideas from the DS version that never made it into the game include the original decisive destruction of Shadar, where Shadar had a more fulfilled backstory that created a sympathetic figure, revealing that he was cursed into evil rather than it was purely malicious. One of the other aspects of this was that the ending for Ari, who is a DS exclusive character, a young girl from Ding Dong Dell, played a bigger role in that version, where her story unfortunately ended very tragically, reinforcing the game's themes of loss, which was softened in the PS3 version. There was also more political intrigue in many of the errands that were run within Ding Dong Dell, where there were faction conflicts within the Cat Kingdom and politics felt a little bit more complex, but that was scrapped to focus more on the main themes of the game. There were a few mechanics that also got scrapped, such as the dragon-like familiar that later got put into Revenant Kingdom or Ni No Kuni 2. Also, the early designs for Mighty, which is one of the first familiars that you start with, looks like a traditional golem that also got moved to Ni No Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. There were a few cut spells like Time Rewind that unfortunately were too overpowered to be put into the full game in either version, but we may see that in a future game. There was also the Lost multiplayer mode that is exclusive to the DS version. The DS game had local multiplayer battle mode where you could trade and fight with familiars. Unfortunately, this was entirely removed in the PS3 version, likely due to hardware limitations of the time. And of course, we'll finish off with talking about the legacy of Ni No Kuni 2's shift. While Wrath of the White Witch was a critical success, its sequel, Revenant Kingdom, moved away from Ghibli's art style. It focused more on a new story with real-time combat. The original Ni No Kuni remains a unique blend of Ghibli's magic and Level 5's RPG expertise, making it a timeless classic for JRPG fans. Thank you, dear viewer, for listening. Please subscribe, share, and comment, telling me what you want to see in the future. Goodbye.